أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الذي أذهب الله عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome to our Quran session. Inshallah, we continue our discussion in Surah Al Fatiha, and we have been discussing Allah's name, Ar Rahim. And honestly, these sessions have been quite effective for me because it has helped me go deeper and deeper into these beautiful names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the beauty of talking and praising about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again and again um, consistently is that it becomes the dhikr. And dhikr is repetition. And the importance of dhikr is that the repetition or staying in a certain discussion continuously has its beautiful effect that just like a sponge slowly starts to absorb something, our hearts also absorb slowly with repetition, and change comes with time. And reminders are very important for us because we are made that way. We need reminders. That's why Quran, one of the names of Quran is a reminder. And one of the laqabs of the Holy Prophet, one of the titles is a reminder that he's come to remind us, and reminders of something which is already there, of a truth which is already within us, and remind us of waking up to who we are, the identity that we forget when we enter this physical, material, dense realm. And the reason I mentioned the word dhikr is because when we do the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we always talk about doing the dhikr of Asma al Husna. And zikr, in essence, is repeating something in such a way that it becomes eventually a part of your essence, something that becomes part of your habits and nature. And for that, they say that it takes um, 40 times to do something, or 40 days to do something again and again, that it would seep into our habit and nature. They even say that for children to change their habit, give them at least 40 chances. We tell them, put your clothes in the laundry, and they wouldn't, or close the lights, and they wouldn't, and we get annoyed. And then we tell ourselves, how many times am I supposed to tell you the same thing again and again? And then our merciful Lord is telling us something, same thing again and again. Have faith, believe in me, return to me, talk to me, all of these things. And he could say, how many times am I going to tell you something? And we look at Surah Rahman, so beautifully Allah says, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. How many of your Lords, what, you're going to deny my, the blessings, how many of these blessings are you going to overlook? And I really would like to invite everyone to look at Surah Rahman and this فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا, not from from a place of Allah saying like, how many times am I going to remind you, but to say, very lovingly and telling us, because it's Surah Rahman, so obviously it's embraced in his mercy, in his love. But to take it in a way like, look at that, how many things are there for you to remember, with this beautiful akhlaq, because we can't expect Allah to come from a place of sarcasm, from a place of taunting, from a place of annoyed repetition. He's coming from a place of love, and he understands our nature, and he understands that we need reminders. We're insan, we're coming from nisyan. Nisyan comes from forgetfulness. So that is why it is really important a lot of times to keep on uh, marinating ourselves again and again in a certain message, to constantly, be in the presence of people who remind us of certain messages. to surround ourselves with books, messages, television shows, um, you know, even post-its. I have had a phase in my life where I had printed out all these beautiful quotes that I would read from wise people, and I printed them out, I laminated them, and then I cut them and put them all over the mirror in my closet, my cupboard, doors, the wall in my closet. They were all filled with these post-its, and every morning I would walk into it, and my eyes would fall on a few of those, and I would read it. And even reading it without thinking, even reading it without having that conscious presence has an effect, because when the conscious mind is not present, a lot of times the subconscious gets activated. And in those moments when we are surrounded in certain environments or messages, then we're absorbing that color. So in the Quran, Allah says the word sibghatullah, the color, the dye, the DYE, dye of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We want to absorb that. And Dr. Wayne Dyer would always say that, the only difference between writing good and God is just one O. So everything good is God, right? So if you surround ourselves with everything good, we're surrounding ourselves with that godliness, that God surrounds us in goodness. Um, and one of the most profound practices that I have learned from Dr. Wayne Dyer is that he would say that whenever you're feeling down, you're not feeling up to it, or you're not feeling hopeful or whatever, in that moment, just tell God that I want to feel good. I want to feel God. I want to feel good. I want to feel God. And you just keep saying it until God will raise your energy. You will notice that a change comes about. So today I also want to touch upon something that I want to continue from last time, but then I will go into the book and read further. What I want to talk about today is this waiting time. The waiting time of when we start doing our work, and the time it takes for us to reach that place when we start seeing a change within ourselves. And that time, that waiting time of saying, for example, I want to get rid of a habit, I want to find compassion, I want to get rid of my anger issues or temper issues or restlessness or any of those things, right? Find forgiveness in my heart. We start the work, and we take classes, we read books, we hear workshops and seminars, and we struggle to see that change in our habits, in our constitution, in who we are. And a lot of times it can lead to despair and giving up on ourselves. And a lot of times it can take us into a place of wallowing in our own guilt and shame, that I'm not a good person, or I'm not trying hard enough, or why can't I do a certain thing? I should be able to do it, and then go into that should mode. Um, the time it takes from the inception of a movement within our being to the time where we start seeing the change is something I believe, this is just my own personal experience and insight, nothing factual, just my own thoughts, is the time that has to be left with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because all power lies with Him and we can only try. So when we start doing the work, we do the journey, we put in the willingness, we start the work, but the time it will take for the change to come about is in Allah's hand. And a friend said something which really hit me. And she said that even God took 6 days to make the world. you know. And even a baby takes 9 months in the womb to be fully formed, to go through that process. So there's a beauty and an importance and a significance to this waiting time, to this time of process to take place. And life, to him, he talks about life as a dance. He doesn't talk about life as a project. And he says, do you dance so that the dance comes to an end, or do you enjoy the dance as and how it's happening and the movement of it? So dance is something you can never say, I need to dance to finish the dance, right? Dance is something which is a joy within itself. It's the process is the destination. And that's exactly what we talk about life. That life itself, its process, its everyday moment experience is to be savored. It has to be tasted. It has to be, be experienced within that present moment. And that is why, William Blake has written something really beautiful in that poetry he writes about the daffodils, right? No, not the he's not written daffodils, sorry. He's written this couplet, and it's about, he says that grain of the whole world is in the grain of a sand and eternity in an hour, or something like that. I posted it on Telegram. And that's what it is, that the entire life, our entire life, is actually held within um, a single moment, because every moment has to be tasted, every moment has to be experienced, whether it's dark or light, whether it's going for us or going against us. And Imam Ali has a beautiful saying, right? That life will give you 2 days, one for you, one against you. And when it's for you, be grateful. When it's against you, be patient. But going further than that, even, what is patience, right? Um, is it tolerating this moment and saying, oh, I don't like it, but I'm going to tolerate it? Is that patience? Or patience really looks like really experiencing that moment with gratitude, saying that within this there is good. I cannot see it, but there is good. And Allah is saying it in the Quran, everything good is from me, good is from you, and everything is from Allah, so everything is good. And so to change our lens and using every moment, bringing ourselves into the present moment and saying, God, let me experience the eternity um, in this moment. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends us people in our lives sometimes. Um, so this is going off to that tangent, but I feel inspired to share that for our learning, Allah will send people in our lives. Now, some people will be, again, against us, and some people will be for us. And the people who are against us, they become mirrors in a certain way, and people who are for us, they become mirrors in a certain way. And to go on this journey of the soul, I would really invite everyone to remember that whether we make a mistake and someone brings it to our notice and says, this is not okay about you, um, is something where, again, not going into shaming ourselves and saying, oh my God, how could I have behaved like that? Or, some people are blunt. They'll come and tell you on your face, you did this or you said this and I didn't like it, or she got hurt or whatever. To take it objectively as a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as an opening and as a mirror that is showing to you something as it is, something about yourself which is now coming to you as it is, because that's a quality of a mirror. A mirror doesn't mask things, a mirror doesn't sugarcoat things. A mirror will show us things about us as they are. There's no Photoshop, there's no editing, right? So some people will come and show us our flaws per se, and for us to not go into guilt and shame, but take it as a mirror and say, okay, this is something I need to work on. and it's a good knowing, it's a good, learning, and let me work on this, and I'm going to move on, and not take it personally, but take it objectively. Now, it's very easy for me to say don't take it personally and do it objectively, because I struggle with that myself. All of us do, because we have our triggers, and when we get triggered, we can find it very personal. We can find hidden agendas in the way people speak to us, and in what people are telling us. And I'm going to conclude this in a bit, what I'm saying. I'm going to give you an answer for that, but I want to go to the person again who is for us and who is showing the good in us. So people who are mirrors to us, who mirror to us our goodness, who mirror to us our beauty, they again are a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as people who show us the abundance we can count on, the abundance we want to focus on, the abundance that we want to increase. And all my life, from the way I was parented to the teachers for a very, very long time, um, there was a huge emphasis on learning to never be arrogant, learning to never be proud, and so then if you can't be proud, then you can't be proud of the good things in you, right? And because then it will be fakhar and pride and all of that, and Allah doesn't like fakhura, the people who do fakhar. um, but we have to understand then that starts to affect our self-esteem, and it starts to affect our self-image. And if we go into that complete negation of whatever is good in us, then how are we going to increase that good, and how are we going to use that good for the purpose we were sent here for? Now, a coach of mine, she beautifully said this to me. She said, when you are praised, or when you find something good within you or in your possession, and maybe somebody praises it, and personally, a lot of us, I've noticed in this circle of learning, we suddenly get really confused, or taken aback, or very flustered to receive compliments, to receive uh, you know good compliments coming our way, and we just deflect it by saying, oh, you're also pretty, oh, your dress is also looking so nice, or um, whatever the good comes to us, before we even absorb it, before we even receive it, we deflect it because we're not comfortable with receiving compliments. And the thing is that we need to absorb this, because first of all, it's coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so where I want to take this is the idea of tawheed, that the negative feedback we're getting about ourselves is also coming only with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Not a leaf falls without his permission. So everything comes with his permission. Whatever message we're receiving is coming from him, but through these vessels. So number one, to not take things personally when they're negative is also from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a message that had to be given to us. And if we believe in his Rahman and Rahim qualities, we will know that he is not coming from a place of counterproductiveness for us. He is only God, growth centric God. He only wants growth in us. So the criticism that's coming, has its aspects of growth in it for us. And if we could remove these people from the path and go directly and say, this message is coming to me from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it can be of two reasons, right? It can be of two qualities. One could be that someone is genuinely disrespecting us. We don't have that bad thing in us. And the other thing could be that this bad thing does exist in me. This flaw is there in me, and I need to work on it. So we have to be spending enough time with ourselves on a daily basis to know this difference when somebody says it to us. How will I know that this negative thing does exist in me or doesn't exist in me. So when somebody's coming up to me and dishonoring me, I will have to know, is this really true about me or not, right? And in that moment, what can we do is that we can say what Imam Zainal Abidin said so beautifully to his friends when he was countered like this. And he said, if this is a bad quality within me, I would like to work on it, and I ask you to pray for my guidance. But if it doesn't exist in me, then I pray for you. And while we can't always use these scripts in our lives, what we can do is that we can understand that knowing ourselves, spending our time with ourselves on a daily basis gives us that clarity to use that moment and say, thank you for telling me, thank you for telling me this. And I will think about it if we feel that this does exist in me, and humbling ourselves. And if there is a doubt that, this was outrageous or this was not needed and was not well deserved, then it is giving us another opportunity of using that moment, of still finding empathy, of still going into that place of finding love for God's creation, of finding forgiveness, of being able to move on, and not going into guilting and shaming ourselves. We're really, really learning this skill now, aren't we? Because we were not modeled this, to not go into guilt and shame. So that moment, if you were disgraced and dishonored, and it's not true, becomes a stepping stone for us to not go into guilt and shame when the thing is not true, to not go into blaming the other person because it is not true, to finding a moment of forgiveness because it is not true. What I'm trying to explain is that every moment is meticulously designed and planned in the scheme of Allah's work. And it has to be used to either make us better or either make us bitter. And if we can bring in this consciousness that I want to use every moment given to me as a gift to better my soul, then every creation of Allah that crosses our path, whether it's good or bad, whether it's sweet or bitter, can become a means and is a means of, in the scheme of Tawheed, to lead us in our path where we need to go. So the idea is that in this journey, we have to have that presence of mind of self-knowledge, and then using every moment for our growth, and then letting ourselves have that gestation time, that time of incubation where the process begins, but it can't suddenly come to its end. The process in its every moment has to be experienced. It has to be used as a moment of marination and as an absorption, and not rushing to the end of it, but saying within this moment, what transformation can I experience within my soul? And to take it really slow and to go into a mode of waiting with excitement of where Allah is leading the soul. What rainbows are waiting for me through this, right? I just read Imam Ali's saying yesterday, which I want to read out. If you can just give me a second. Um, and he says that, be sure that there is something waiting for you after much patience to astonish you to a degree that you forget the bitterness of the pain. And it's Allah's promise, right? That not even an iota of your effort will ever go to waste. And it's not like we will do something good and we will get a gift at the end of the exam or a trophy. It's not like we'll do something bad and some monstrous black devil is waiting to torture us and give us our punishment. It's a cause and effect. It's a direct effect of how we work and the transformation we create within ourselves, and whatever work we do in ourselves. سَنُرِيهِمْ آيَاتِنَا فِي الْآفَاقِ وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ. Your signs are being reflected in the horizons and within yourself. Whatever change and transformation we will see within our hearts, within ourselves, we will start to see it outside in the outer world, because the outer world is a direct mirror of my inner world. That's why none of what is outside of me is alien of me. Whatever is outside of me has been created by my soul, has been created by who I am. Either it's been created for my encouragement and love and growth and support, or it's been created for my soul to grow through that. Either way. Um, Yeah, so moving forward, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, I'm going to read it from the book now. By saying this formula, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, because it also has Rahim in it, you appeal to your heart to consciously enfold your every deed with its truthfulness and expressly interweave it with the divine mercy, so that the divine light may be spread on earth through your existence. Now, while I was talking to you, and I was talking to you about how the soul transforms and how we see it directly reflecting on the outside, this is exactly what was going to be my next point. That what I have noticed is that when there is a change within us, because we are energetic beings, and a lot of scientists have had this experience, and a lot of people have had these transcendental experiences, either through uh, brain hemorrhages or stroke, or I mean, Allah makes the means for people to experience these experiences through meditation or whatever. People have experienced that they would notice that they're one with everything, and they're just a soup of atoms in a larger soup of atoms, and there's no separation, and we're all one. And there's a TED talk that talks about how it's the brain that creates the separation of my body from my environment. Because as a child, I used to wonder that if atoms are just buzzing balls of energy, then how is it that my body atoms are not getting muddled up with the atoms of oxygen and hydrogen in the air? And that was just a query I had as a child, because in my mind I used to try to imagine all these atoms. And growing up, after so many years, all these scientists are saying that, well, everything is in a soup of atoms. We're energetic beings, and everything is energy, and we're just one. It's just one existence, and it's all just one. So what happens that when we take responsibility for our growth and our journey, and we sincerely and honestly move our attention away from changing other people? Now we don't want to do things to change other people. Like Rumi says, yesterday I was clever and I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise and I want to change myself. When that awareness comes, that you truly cannot and do not have the power, the intrinsic ability of changing other people doesn't exist with us. And the only thing we can really have power over is changing ourselves. Then we start vibrating at a different energy in this soup of atoms, in this soup of energy. And when we notice in the water, if we throw a pebble and there's a change in the frequency of the waves of water, there will always be ripples. And if we sincerely change our energy to saying, I want to change myself, when we change that energy, and we move away from wanting change in other people, then guess what's going to happen to other people when this ripple effect uh, works? Is that other people will also want to change not others but themselves. And their inner work may also begin if they're receiving that energy. And if Allah wills, and if they're in that pool of energy, in that ripple effect, each person starts to take responsibility for themselves, which is the truth of this life. Because Allah says in the Quran that each soul is responsible for its own work. And even if a close relative wants to take the burden, they will not be able to. It's because it's not possible. No one can sleep for us, no one can eat for us, no one can do this work for us. Even if they wanted to, they cannot, because that's the system. But the beauty is that if we do our work sincerely with the sole intention of finding godliness and proximity to God, then others too will follow. And I was beautifully reminded of this hadith by a teacher who said the Holy Prophet said that there are 70 ways of doing tabligh, and the last one is through your tongue, and the best one is through your akhlaq, right? So we change ourselves, and the change becomes contagious. And a lot of times, from my own experience, I'm saying that living with people, doing relationships in this world, there is a direct consequence of that, and that is people stepping on your toes, people getting in the way of your work, people imposing themselves on you. All of these things, they will happen because that's the way human societies work. And a lot of times we feel constricted by other people around us. And when we start becoming personal and get very attached to these restrictions around us, it leads to restlessness, pain, hurt, resentment, hatred. Um, and along with all of that, some of us will either completely relent to it and not say anything, but live in a place of resentment and hatred and a lot of regression, but in a quiet place of not speaking out. And a lot of us will speak out, become bitter, and feel resentment, shout and scream, and even become rebellious. And when I was thinking about these thoughts in my quiet moments, I was inspired to think about the life of Nelson Mandela. And it was such a profound example for all of us that this man was imprisoned for 27 years, if I'm not wrong. And what we see in him is that he was on the outside completely constricted. He was imprisoned. He was physically held down. And he was right in what he was doing. He was fighting for good, right? But he was imprisoned. By what? The outer world. It imprisoned him. And he used those moments of constriction, like Sheikh Fadlallah says, the outer constriction can lead to inner expansion. And that's exactly what we see in this man, that he is using his outer constriction and restriction to make him one of the most liberated men you will ever come across. The stories we read about his life after he was emancipated, after he was freed from the prison, are just so remarkable. And we see that Nelson Mandela comes out after 27 years with a resolve to forgive everyone. And he's coming from this deep space of love and forgiveness, empathy and understanding, which we see in the Holy Prophet. Right? In Taif, when the Holy Prophet is being stoned he's starting to bleed. And we see that Hazrat Jibreel comes and he says, if you want, we can put adab on these people because this is how they're treating their prophet. And the prophet says, leave them. They don't know any better. That they'll grow. They need time. I want you to give them time. And that's mercy. The time, the process, that's the mercy. And the time Nelson Mandela has taken to become who's become when he comes out, that's a process. That's the mercy. You need that time. You need that time to grow. You have to allow yourself that time and say, in this moment, I allow myself. I'm allowing myself to give time to myself, for the change to come about. I'm waiting. I will wait in good opinion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for inner change to come. People on the path of God, people who are into wayfaring, in the spiritual journey, their focus has to constantly come back into the inner world. And more than changing the outer world and outer circumstances, it's all about going inside and changing the inner world and then letting the outer world unfold itself as in how divine will works. But it's the inner world we want to focus on. And what we're seeing now is that Nelson Mandela comes out and he wants to forgive everyone. And I was having a discussion with my sister, and she's telling me that, he and his wife couldn't stay together. There's a divorce because the wife is saying, you struggled so much, we've struggled so much, there's been so much pain, I want to take revenge. And he's saying, no, but I want to forgive. And while, we cannot dismiss her journey and her resolve, we can also not dismiss this massive forgiveness and expansion of the soul that we see in Nelson Mandela. He's not a prophet, he's not a saint, he's another man, but he's done that inner work. And he's used that time in the prison to say, let me go within when I cannot go out, which is what we're going through. COVID is that for us. Go within when you can't go out, right? And use that to say, in every situation, I'm going to go within and not point fingers at others and not blame the weather and not blame the virus and not blame everything. The whole universe, Allah is saying, I created for you and I created you for me. So the whole universe is meticulously working for my awakening. Everything that comes to me is coming from my awakening. Can I use it or will I waste it? I want to use every moment and start seeing the face of God in everything and start seeing Tawheed in everything and start seeing it's all one and it's working for one purpose of my growth and of my liberation from within, of my expansion from within. And then we see that the only thing we really are left, which is within our control, is setting the intention, is saying, I am willing. I am willing to go on that path, which is, the Chinese proverb, which I say again and again, that the one who blames others hasn't started their journey. The one who blames themselves have begun their journey. And the one who doesn't blame anyone has reached. If I can go on that journey, if I can find my way into life with that mindset, then it's a growth mindset. And then it's a journey of the soul within, and it becomes a journey of me and my God, of me seeing my God in every moment and having husn billah, having a good opinion of God, and then doing life from a place of positivity, of a surrender, which is not coming from a place of subjugation, but a submission and surrender which comes out of willingness, really surrendering from the heart, right? If I have lost my train of thought and I've missed any point, please, I apologize. but I'm just going to read on now. So the divine names Rahman and Rahim both derive from Rahma, which means mercy as well as having mercy. Rahman is the hidden, eternal, all-prevailing mercy, while Rahim is the unlimited outer expression and manifestation of this quality. The world comes into being through Rahman, and Rahim Rahim is the reality of love. All the conditions of life on this earth arise from endless mercy and tenderness. Rahim is humankind's grace and salvation. The manifestation of those two names sows the seeds of love and mercy on earth and distribute blessed deeds among humankind. We can discover the seeds, press them deep into the earth of our heart, nurture them with loving attention, water them with compassion. See, this is what we're talking about, the process. The seed cannot grow immediately. It needs to be buried deep in its darkest, places. The seed has to stay in the darkness and the coldness of the soil before the shell can break open. And that's what we want to do. That using darkness to become softer, using darkness to become sweeter and better, and open up to growth. Open up to growth like the seed. And for that moment, the seed will think that it has been completely destroyed because it's not a seed anymore, because the shell is opened. And what is going on, right? And the shoot comes out and the root comes out. We learned in biology. But the seed has to let go of itself, of who it was, so that it can grow, so it can go to the next stage in its life. And I read something really beautiful from Neil Donald Walsh's work, Awaken the Species. And he talks about adopting godly qualities, right? And I wanted to bring in that into our discussion of expansion from within. And what I wanted to say is that what Neil says is that he gives this exercise, and he says that over a period of 7 days, you divide your day into 3 portions. So every day you have these, you make a grid, and every day you have, like Sunday, you have these 3, you divide your day into 3 portions, right? Morning, and then the middle part, and then the night, whatever. And in each grid, in each box, you write one good quality of being and not doing that you want to practice. So you write, I'm going to be kind in the morning, and I'm going to be giving in the day, and then I'll be forgiving at night. And then the next day you write, I want to be generous in the morning, I want to be loving in the middle part of the day, and then I want to be compassionate at night. Okay, so you start making a grid and you write down these good qualities. Now, what are good qualities? They're godly qualities. And they're godly qualities, what are they? They're the attributes of God. So you write down the attributes of God that you want to practice throughout the day. And what he says is that instead of walking into a moment and then deciding how I'm going to behave, I want to pre-assign a behavior to my day and walk into that moment prepared from before. This is mindfulness, right? You walk into a moment prepared from before. What am I going to be, not what am I going to do? So if you're going to walk into a moment and you are going to say, on Monday morning, I had decided to be generous, you're already on the agenda of your soul. You're already being what you needed to be. Now, what I want to bring your attention here to is, by doing this practice, you are practicing your God-given free will and choice, which no one can take it away from you. No one, even if they force you, no one, if they physically imprison you, can take away this choice from you of choosing to be who you want to be. And that is inner expansion. That is inner liberation. That choice never goes away from us, who we're going to be. And being is the faculty of the soul. Being is that limb that we grow when we are in the dark. Just like the seed will break open and grow a shoot and a root, we grow these limbs of practicing our free will and practicing our choice in that moment. And that is inner liberation, right? So I'm going to continue reading now. Okay. We can discover the seeds, press them deep into the heart of our earth of our heart, nurture them with loving attention, water them with compassion, and they will blossom through our trust in Allah. Thus the Sufis say, rain is Allah's blessing, for He reminds us of the rose we carry in our heart, the inner process of growth and maturity. When we repeat Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, a conscious, intimate encounter unfolds between divine mercy and our human limitations. We need to be aware of our own powerlessness in order to become a vessel of trust, receptive to mercy. Then the drop begins to adopt the vibration of the ocean. That union is Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. How beautiful is that? The name Ar-Rahman is like the wide open sky, and Rahim like a sun ray whose warmth brings us life. Repeating this name fervently with a passionate heart will protect you from forgetfulness, confusion, and any hardening of the heart. If you repeat this divine name 100 times during the last third of the night, you will come to feel compassion and connectedness to all creatures. Now, I was doing a meditation, and again, it was from this book, and I will post it on our group. She's talking about alwase, and she talks about depression, and she says that depression is a time when we cannot find our place in this world to connect with other people. We cannot receive love. People are giving it to us, but we can't receive it. We can't see it. And I've had first-hand experiences, perhaps of my own, but also with other people, definitely of my own and other people, where people are being nice to me, where they're giving love to me, but I can't receive it. I will dismiss it out of suspicion, of mistrusting their intention, of dwelling in the past and how they behaved in the past. So, how can I trust them now? And overall, my inability to receive that love. And that is Allah's grace coming to us, but we not being able to receive. And again, I want to remind everyone that we do not want to go into a space of shaming and blaming ourselves and saying, how could I do that? I was nashukra. We use that word so much in our communities. We say, I was ungrateful. I was ungrateful. How didn't I receive it? I couldn't receive it, right? And Allah was giving, but I didn't take it. So we need to be kind to ourselves, forgiving and loving to ourselves first, not going to that perfectionist mode. And we need to understand that at times we cannot. And even in that cannotness, if that's the word, there is grace. There is a goodness in those moments of not being able to receive. Because when you are able to receive, you realize that the true ni'mat, the true blessing at times is not being able to receive that thing from outside, but the true gift is that faculty of the soul that it is able to receive. I don't know if I am able to show the difference, but to put in another analogy, it is not a bigger gift to be able to have a chocolate in your hand, but it is a greater gift that you have the taste buds that can taste and appreciate the chocolate. Because you can have all the chocolate in the world, and if you don't have the taste buds, you will not be able to appreciate that gift. And the journey of the soul is about developing these faculties of the heart and the soul, which is a bigger gift, which is when Allah says that if you only knew the world of the akhirah is better for you, He's saying it's not the outer ni'mats that are a bigger gift, but it is in the big in the development of your faculties of how you interact with these blessings. It's in the ability of your soul of how it communicates, how it reacts around these ni'mats is a bigger gift, right? Okay, so this is what it says, that recitation of this name and repeating it as a zikr 100 times during the last third of the night you will come to feel compassion and connectedness to all creatures. Those who suffer from sinus troubles should lay one hand on that area and repeat Ar-Rahim 258 times. Repeating this divine name turns an enemy into a friend, bringing peace and calmness to body and soul. Be compassionate on this earth, and heaven will show you his compassion, Allah's compassion. The fastest path to transformation goes through service. Serving is not self sacrifice. Serving means to let compassion grow in your heart and to connect the mercy of the heart with the reason of the mind, to polish the heart with the sun of the mind. Surah Al Nisa, uh, Surah number 4, ayah number 1, Allah says, O mankind, be conscious of your sustainer who has created you out of one living entity, and out of it created its mate, and out of the two spread abroad a multitude of men and women, and remain conscious of God, in whose name you demand your rights from one another, and of these ties of kinship. Verily, God is ever watchful over you. In Arabic, the word ar-raham can be translated as wombs and carries the meaning of ties of kinship. Two things are essential on our spiritual path, which always expresses itself on the social level, which are what? To become aware of God and to become aware of the womb. The womb is a place of conception, the place where nurturing and protection come together, namely the two qualities a being needs in order to grow up in a balanced manner, which are what? To become aware of God, to become aware of the womb. The womb represents also an inner, pleasant, and comforting state. We need to respect the womb that gave us birth as the locus of the creation of humankind in this world, which reminds us of our common origin and of human kinship. To respect the womb means to always stand by the weak and the oppressed, to stand up for justice, and to fight the oppressors. It also means to respect and look after the cosmic womb, nature, for nature is always will be the companion of faith. In Surah Nisa, Allah says, and remain conscious of God, in whose name you demand your rights from one another, and of these ties of kinship. To bring together God and the womb is to bring together the visible and the invisible, this world and the hereafter. Now, I did mention, right, that the outer world is at our service. The outer world, Allah is saying, I created it for you and I created you for me. And if we were to draw a little diagram and we could say, you know, like there's God and I'm for God and the world is for me, then we create this connection of the womb and God, the visible and the invisible. God informs us of our rights and duties towards one another, and He shows us how they are organized in terms of order, priority, and proportions. We fulfill them through our consciousness out of the source of loving kindness. Okay, I'm just going to read this on. I hope you guys are not getting bored with the reading. We human beings should never forget to testify to the absolute unity of all beings, or to remember the womb that brought us here. In other words, our human kinship and the other multiplicity of existence. All these words and explanations are meant to aid us dissolve the isolation induced by the ego, the separation from the we, to which we always intend, out of various types of fear, right? Fear divides us, and faith connects us and unites us. Indeed, it is through trust in the divine, not through the hopeless walls of the ego, that we attain the longed for protection and necessary submission. Our kindness, our mercy, our warm, nurturing, and protective love should first and foremost be aimed at orphans and those who have been abandoned, for they need twice as much protection. Now, there's a saying of Thomas Merton where I would like to kind of conclude my session. He says, the Sufis have ways of learning to pray so that you are really praying in the heart, from the heart, not just saying words, not just thinking good thoughts or making intentions or acts of the will, but really from the heart. I'm also inspired to read out some things which I read before the session, if I can find it immediately. Um, it was really beautiful. It was about a Rahim, so I thought I would share with you guys. Um, Actually, it was from the name Ar-Rahman, but I'm really inspired to read it, so I'm just gonna. Ar-Rahman is endless love. It is the infinite, unconditional reality of love. This is the name said in the Quran to be inscribed on the heart of Allah. I found this so beautiful, heart of Allah. In other words, God's essence necessarily includes this quality of love. Ar-Rahman might be imagined as the inner self of God, an infinite container that is incredibly compassionate, kind, and tender. It is the sun of loving compassion that is endlessly shining. I just want to conclude the session here today, and I will make the dua before I stop the recording. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. O Allah, we raise our hands up to the heavens because we find this distance between you and I. And so many times I believe I'm here and you are up there, but Ya Allah, can you please bring this feeling of intimacy, of this proximity within my heart, so that when I pray, I know that you are there in my heart, always protecting me. You are me, you are the beauty that surrounds me, you are the love that surrounds me, Ya Allah. Can you please help me experience that proximity? I yearn for it and I ask for it, Ya Allah. I am needy, I am in faqr, I am your faqir, Ya Allah, and you are the master. You are my wali and you are my Mawla. Oh Allah, I ask you to help me in this journey where I need patience, where I need love, I need kindness and compassion for others and most of all for myself. Oh Allah, can you help me please to be mindful, to wake up from my slumber moment to moment. When I get lost in my train of thoughts, Ya Allah, can you please bring me back to you? Moment to moment, can I experience Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un? Ya Allah, can I please feel this proximity where I can experience where I come from and where I am going, and that I am here with you right now, Ya Allah. Can you please help me remove these veils so I can have that moment of witnessing your beauty? And while there will always be infinite veils between you and me, Ya Allah, I want you to help me take my first steps. I know that I just have to start and you will run to me, Ya Allah. So this is me coming to you. This is me taking my step to you, Ya Allah. And now this is my opinion of you, Ya Allah, that you will never disappoint me. I come to you with this opinion of you, that you will never disappoint me, Ya Allah. So I come with an excitement, and I come with a joyful heart, and I come with a longing of knowing that you will never ever disappoint me with what I ask you, and you will fill my heart. So I come to you with this childish love and childish excitement. So, Allah, I know that you are there and you are listening and you are giving. O Allah, bring healing to our hearts in this world. O Allah, make us vessels of healing for others. O Allah, hasten the reappearance of your last Savior and enable us to be his supporters. Amen. Let us pray a Fatiha friends, and I'm just smiling because I just saw Rawan. So let's just do Fatiha and then I'll stop the recording. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in Ghayril maghdubi alayhim wa I'm just gonna stop the recording now.